Welcome back to VIVAC-E TV. I'm John Holloway, founder and executive director of VIVAC-E Music Foundation. At VIVAC-E, we hope to connect with and engage the communities we serve and provide our many participants with the tools to do the same in the communities they live in. Tonight's presentation, Community Engagement, is exactly that, as we get inside access to specific projects that are happening right now in communities around the world, even during the times of social distancing. Our panelists, Catherine Cho, Hejin Kim, and Maria Lambros, have inspired me personally for many years with their community-based work and happen to be among the world's finest musicians, in demand as soloists, chamber musicians, and teachers at the Juilliard School, East Carolina University, and Peabody Conservatory. It is a great pleasure that I welcome Kathy, Hejin, and Maria to VIVAC-E TV. Enjoy the program. Hejin, you're muted.
Okay, I was muted. Now probably you can all hear me. Hi, everyone. I am so excited to be here and to be teaching and sharing so much of everything that what make us musicians and us also somewhat of a servant in the society. And tonight is very, it feels very special to all of us, me, Maria, and Kathy, because we really love what we do and we're very passionate about each one of us is calling in this way. So, and I'm also so honored to be sharing this evening with these two amazing friends and musicians and human beings, Maria and Kathy, and they have inspired me throughout all of my process and journey to make a project of my own, and I am so grateful for their friendship and their mentorship. I would like to start with a short musical message from home that I made and that I sent to the hospital that I am bringing my project to at the beginning of the whole pandemic and the stay-at-home order in North Carolina. It's the same music that John used, but now let's see the whole the video in its entirety. Hi everyone, my name is Hejin Kim. I'm a violinist and the creator of the project Lullaby Dreams. Many of you at the Children's Hospital at Vidant know me through my project where I bring my violin and play live lullabies to the babies, parents, and medical staff at Neonatal Intensive Care Unit and Special Care Nursery. Lately, I have really missed coming and playing for you in person, so I thought it would be great to send you some music this way. Also with this music, I would love to reach out to all of healthcare workers at Vidant and throughout Eastern North Carolina and beyond. Thank you so much for your service and sacrifice during this difficult time, and thank you for taking care of us and our children now and always. I hope that this music will bring some peace to you and that it will add a little bit of beauty to the world right now. Thank you, and I hope you'll enjoy it, and I hope I'll get to come and play for you in person very soon. Take care. So, Lullaby Dreams is an initiative bringing beauty and humanity to the hospital experience for infants, children, parents, and medical staff through music. And it started with a small and somewhat crazy idea of an expecting mom, and that would be me, um, who is a violinist and who also loves to play short, lovely encore pieces in her spare time or whenever she can. And her and my dream of sharing lots of lullabies and beautiful music with her soon to be born baby. It's hard to believe that that was almost 3 years ago. So I had an idea and I asked Nathaniel Yaffe, the fabulous cellist and recording engineer you all got to know through VIVAC-E, if you're participants here, and my friend and ECU colleague pianist Kwan Yi for this personal recording project. So, with a very full belly, about 2 weeks before our son arrived, we recorded 12 songs ranging from lullabies by Brahms and Mozart to all the small, lovely pieces I love, like songs by Dvorak and Debussy and meditation from Thais and so on. So that was done. I got it done before he arrived, and he arrived 2 weeks early, and a few months passed, and into I think it was third month after his birth, I had an opportunity to tour the children's hospital where our son was born and visited many units that help babies and children heal. It's really pretty amazing what happens in there, and yeah, it's really beautiful what happens in there. But I was struck by a few things. Um, there was a lot of silence in all the units, and you guess why? It's even though it's for infants and babies, it is for intensive care unit. Called NICU, neonatal intensive care units, and special care nursery, pediatric ICU. The whole hospital was beautiful. It was a very pleasant atmosphere, but in those units, there is no sound other than um, lots of beeping noises or the mechanical sounds that machines or monitors make all throughout the day. And I could feel this kind of amped up energy and urgency. And of course, it is there. Um, because at any moment you kind of don't know what can happen. So as I'm walking through, I had this strong desire to share lullabies that I am so fortunate that my son is so fortunate to enjoy every day in our comfortable home and that we take for granted. So when a spark of idea comes to me, I have, and there is this kind of crazy rush of creativity in my head that goes on. And sometimes I feel overwhelmed with it. So these are the moments where I turn to people who know and who kind of have gone through all of this, right? So I turn to I call them my outreach friends and outreach mentors, Maria and Kathy, in this moment. And it really started out by just sharing all the what ifs and what abouts. Like, what about I go to the hospital every day and play for these babies? What if I can have a concert for parents and um, all the parents who are coming in to give birth, and they could have music while they are in labor, and all of those big dreams, little and big and little dreams. I have this wonderful memory of sitting down for a cup of coffee with Kathy on one of her visits to North Carolina, and I just started telling her about my dreams of playing music for every baby that is born in the whole world and in all hospitals. And Kathy said, just believe that it can and it will happen because you have a passion for it. And it sounded so simple and so powerful. Those simple words really carried a lot of weight for me and really helped me at many different times as I pursued and as I continue to pursue different things for this project. So I would always remember that coffee date with Kathy. Um, so I live in Greenville, North Carolina, where I teach at East Carolina University. Um, it's a town. It's a smallish town um, that is kind of a center, a hub of the Eastern North Carolina region, and it's a university town with great music and art scene, with a very energetic atmosphere from all of the college students, and but it still has a charming small town feel. So um, yeah, and I enjoy living there, and I enjoy living in a smallish town, because one of the many benefits of living in a smaller town is the close-knit community that you can actively help create, and that you are also an important part of that community, and that in that community, I feel that you need to care about each other. And that's what I feel so fortunate about being able to be a part of a community in Greenville, North Carolina, whether it's through music or whether it's through school, business, just and especially through this project that I do with the hospital. Um, Greenville is so vibrant, always, with all of the concerts and artists that come through for the Four Seasons Festival, Chamber Music Festival that Ara and John here at VIVAC-E are involved with. And it's great in that way. Culture, I think that we have a lot of culture to offer. But another wonderful thing about Greenville is that it has a really wonderful medical center that serves the whole um, Eastern North Carolina region. It's a real medical hub for the whole region of that part of North Carolina. And the Maynard Children's Hospital at this Vidant Medical Center is where I gave birth, and where I felt like should be a first home for my project. So as anything goes, as many of you know, when you're trying to take your project off the ground, it's always, I think, a difficult and slow process, even if you have the support and help from friends who are maybe closely associated with, in my case, with the medical scenes in Greenville and the hospital system. It's always difficult to figure out like who are the right people who can directly like kind of guide me in the right direction, and who can understand the premise of my project. So um, but with lots of help from friends, I was finally able to be in the meeting. The meeting was finally set with the child life specialist at the hospital, and a NICU nurse manager, and nurse manager for the whole children's hospital, and a NICU doctor. And um, when that meeting was set and scheduled, I really tried to do everything I can to have a great kind of sharing and presentation of what my vision was with this and what I could bring to them. And um, going in, I knew I was introducing something that is not so familiar to them. They are busy. Doctors and nurses and staff at these hospitals, they have lives to save. So to them, I think it what we do can feel somewhat non-essential, but I also had a very firm belief from the very beginning that what I could bring to them is also a huge way to heal and improve the cognitive and emotional health of everyone, babies, parents, and exactly those staff members, and the quality of their time in the hospital. So I think that's what I try to deliver in my talk with them. And as I was preparing, I turned again to my friend Maria here, and she helped me with my talking points and the materials. I like made a packet for each one of them in the meeting, like a nice overview printed on a really nice paper, and a copy of my recording, the music that I was hoping to play, be able to play in those units, and I think looking back, that was such an important thing for me to have the someone to kind of bounce ideas with and someone to turn to for help. And that's, I think, so important to know for many of you who are listening, who are pursuing any of these efforts, and to know that you're never alone in this process. There are so many wonderful organizations out there, and at the end of the talk, we'll share what those organizations that have taught us are, and colleagues and mentors from whom you can draw inspirations, and who had gone through all of these steps and the same process of trying to bring music to unlikely and unfamiliar and unfamiliar settings and unique places. So we all want to help and learn from each other. And I think that probably no one of us can say that we are an expert at this, but we all are so passionate about reaching out to someone in need in some way. And that's also why it means so much to all three of us to share with all of you what we went through and what we do and why we're so passionate about it. Um, and for you to know that, you know, we are here and you can find us when you need help in finding your own way of engaging your community with your music. So you know, after this meeting, what I thought was a very important meeting to help my project, you know, there's usually a very long period of waiting, and I went through that painful time of waiting to hear from this person and from that person. My project really came together, I think, with the help of one very important, crucially important person, a NICU nurse who serves on the development team and was assigned to follow up with me about this particular project. And she literally brought me through the doors of NICU and other units, and really so kind to work with me to know the lay of the land and how music can be introduced and is sustained in those units, because we know the music. I know what I want to play, I know how I want to play, but in that setting of hospital rooms, especially very high intensity and kind of urgent rooms, I have no idea. So she really introduced me to many questions to ask. We checked. We had a walkthrough meeting where we were just walking through many different parts of the hospital, especially focusing on the NICU and special care nursery. We checked decibel levels of violin, um, and figure out that what is optimal for NICU setting, and also differently at special care nursery, which is a little bit more relaxed setting. And in that process, I figured out, I realized that as beautiful as it is, violin's E string is very high pitched and could be very loud. It could be felt very loud. So no matter what I tried with a mute, or I tried really covering the E string sound with my bow. Um, I just didn't feel like it was appropriate to play normally. So from then on, I started to kind of arrange, kind of change things, how I was playing some things, how I play. I can make up some fingerings on the A string so that I don't go over to the E string, little lower register, and you know how to play softly and how to play. Just adjusting little things and what part to play and what part not to play. And we figure out good times to come to the hospital in those units, avoiding usually hectic times. And also, importantly, the possibilities of really urgent cases. And those are sometimes unexpected. and what kind of feeling that could create and create, and how I can tell and sense what's coming and kind of avoid being in the way in those important moments. So I felt like I have done a lot of hospital concerts many times before, but it felt really special that I was really in the room with the babies where they are breathing and where they're being treated. And it's a very special connection and closeness that that I could feel, very different from how I would feel on the concert stage. Um, as much as this project is about sharing music with others and bringing joy and beauty of music, I feel that it really heals my soul in return and in the process of it. I have witnessed how music impacts all ears that hear music. And I'm talking about the tiniest ears I have ever seen. A lot of them are premature babies and also their parents and the medical staff are under stress and pressure constantly. Um, and from every visit, I really do have stories. I just have them and I take something away, I feel like. And to share just a few, there was a very premature baby in the NICU one day, and he was being fussy. So he was crying and something was uncomfortable. So the nurse was having the baby up and kind of trying to calm him down. And I happened to be playing near him, and these really tiny babies, premature babies, can't open their eyes yet. So without being able to see, he started turning his head, and he was like trying to find where the music was coming from with his tiny ears. And the nurse was so excited because he started as soon as he kind of processed that, oh, there's a tune and there's some music, he started really slowing down his breathing. And um, it was really, I don't know, I felt such joy in seeing that, like physically seeing that happening was really special. And um, another extremely powerful and kind of an intense moment was on one of my visits to the NICU. They informed me that there's a baby who probably is in his very last few minutes of life, and the family will gather around him shortly. So I asked the nurse if she could kindly ask the family if they would like to hear music at this time. And it was okay if they would like to be quiet. And and they said they would like it, that they would like to hear music and please play. So I played two songs, and when I finished playing the lullaby by Mozart, um, he had taken his last breath during the piece. And I came out of the room with a feeling that I have never felt before. Not to mention how precious our life is, but um, yeah, no matter the length of it, and also how fortunate I was to be able to give this. I was able to give this baby a little bit of music during his very, very, very short life and short time in this world, and how powerfully telling that music is good for our soul, that that this family wanted the music played and that they were surrounded by the beauty and power of music as they faced that loss in that moment. And it was painful to witness this, but I was thankful that I was there and that they did allow me to share music with them at that important moment. And yeah, I would always remember that, and what I do can matter, and can kind of brighten up something so transient. And I'm always so encouraged when I hear the nurses and medical staff telling me how it's it's really good for them to hear this music, and how their time in the hospital and the quality of their time in the hospital is much better. Those couple minutes that they hear my music and they go about in their business. It's a very interesting setting, and medical staff, nurses, and doctors, they are really amazing. They It's like I love that with music that we can provide some sort of oral like sanctuary for them, and it's really wonderful to hear that from them who work so hard to make us feel good. And that's something I also feel very fortunate to know. And over time, I've gotten to know and become friendly with some staff members there more and more. And it is a really special feeling to know that slowly but surely, I'm establishing my own roots in the units and in the hospital through music. And hopefully, I'm really hoping that that root will grow into many different areas of the children's hospital, and really someday, like I told Kathy, really someday I hope that every baby that is born will hear beautiful lullabies play to them. And that's why I'm so passionate about my project, Lullaby Dreams. And that's why what I wanted to share with all of you. I wonder, before we go on to the um, next segment, with Kathy, is there any Ludo? Are there any questions?
Okay, so if any of the attendees wants to raise their hand for any questions or comments about this project, they're welcome to do that right now.
Kathy.
Thank you, Hejin, for that very personal sharing of your thoughts about your beautiful project. I'm so happy to see it come to fruition. Hello, my name is Catherine Cho, and I co-teach a community engagement seminar at the Juilliard School with my wonderful friend and colleague, Natasha Brofsky, who is also the artistic advisor for the Cello Festival of VIVAC-E and the artistic director of Music for Food in New York. And I have a short slideshow to share with you to talk a little bit more about our experiences in this community engagement seminar, which is a year-long course dedicated to the process of curating and creating community engagement projects from scratch, from the ground up. The joys of community engagement. Thanks, Ludo. We can go to the next slide. So one of the first questions we ask ourselves, we might be asking ourselves today, is how do we define community? And a community could be a group of people in a geographic location who share the same interests, citizen groups. I think that we're all thinking a little bit about our own personal sense of community at the moment, of our homes, our families, our own neighborhoods, our studios, our schools. And although I haven't been able to find one agreed upon definition of community engagement, I did find one that I liked by the Stanford Review, which says that community engagement is to engage community members in the work of social change. People working collaboratively through inspired action and learning to create and realize bold visions for their common future, and the process of working collaboratively with and through groups of people affiliated by geographic proximity, special interest, or similar situations to address issues affecting the well-being of those people. And in this time of deep reflection, I've noticed that adversity shines the light on the essence of true nature of humanity. And the true nature of humanity is really that of compassion and wanting to help others. We are innately wired to want to help others. And so the advice that I give to you, if I were to choose 2 words for today, would be to dare greatly. Thanks, Ludo. We can move on. And what do I mean by dare greatly? Well, these are the words that I read in a book by Brene Brown called Dare Greatly. And the idea is to embrace your true essence and enthusiasm and finding your own voice. And sometimes in the noise of the world, it can be difficult to locate the true essence of what you feel, what you think, your own inner voice. And I would recommend that you consider some of these resources that I'm offering to you, which have been very inspirational to me and to many members of my studio, as well as our community engagement class. The first being The Power of Vulnerability by Brene Brown, a wonderful TED Talk where she discusses the idea that vulnerability is the birthplace for creativity, innovation, and change. And I think that there is a lot of wonderful activism in the world today. And I'm very excited and inspired to hear and see how people, young and old, are mobilizing to make the world a better place, one heart at a time. The book Becoming by Michelle Obama is also a wonderful source of inspiration for observing, feeling, and experiencing how a woman can journey through many chapters of their lives to continue rediscovering and reinventing who she is and who she is becoming. A must read, in my opinion. And one of our frequent guests to the Community Engagement Seminar is the wonderful Dana Fontenot, who is the founder of Wholehearted Musician. I have shared her website here for you. She's a cellist and psychologist and career specialist and overall fantastic life coach. And she visits our class and works with our students to really get to the truth of the matter. And I think this is a very important part of our personal reflection in finding what it is that we are most passionate about. Because this is the seed for your community engagement project, is your passion, your personal passion. Thanks, Ludo. We can move to the next slide, Ludo. Thank you. So I have a great story to share. One of my most often asked questions is, what is my purpose? And a lot of times this question came about after studio class. I used to think studio class was about playing and performing and sharing comments, talking about music and technique. But interestingly, it usually ignited a lot of conversation about purpose, about the role of music in social action, activism, the role of music in the world, how can we use art to impact others. And so I remember having a conversation with Jocelyn Zhu on my Quest Corner, which is somewhere between the elevators and the ladies' room, about this topic. And I would love to share with you a video given to us by Concerts for Compassion with Jocelyn Zhu, who's also a participant in VIVAC-E, and Mariela Alps. And I'm delighted to have them joining us today.
Hi, my name is Mariela Hobbs.
And my name is Jocelyn Zhu.
And we are the co-founders of Concerts for Compassion. Concerts for Compassion crosses cultural boundaries by bringing live music to displaced peoples and local communities.
Concerts for Compassion does three things. The first is that we bring music to refugees all across the globe. At this point, we have visited over 30 countries. Our concert experience is unique in that it is more of a two-way dialogue. We not only play music for refugees, but we also listen to music from their cultures. We feel that this highlights the beauty and joy of music and of concerts, in that they create community and dialogue where there may not have been any before. The second thing we do is to hold educational workshops for both local and refugee youth. We not only teach musical skills, but these sessions are a way for the refugee community to integrate into the local community. The third thing we do is that we play concerts for organizations like the United Nations and the Red Cross. who directly benefit refugee communities.
We started Concerts for Compassion during our last year at Juilliard. Jocelyn and I both felt strongly about starting our careers using music for social change. So we launched in a 25-country tour through Europe and the Middle East playing for refugees. We then felt strongly about continuing the work and have since gone to Latin America with United Nations and been featured on Good Morning America and WQXR, which gave us some traction to have a wider impact. In this whole process, we decided to turn Concerts for Compassion into a nonprofit organization so that we can have a wider and longer-lasting impact on more communities.
More recently, Concerts for Compassion has expanded on a component of our original mission statement of amplifying voices from our communities around the world. Because we have moved to an exclusively online platform, we have been creating community by means of our weekly newsletter and social media. We share and feature a guest member each week. Our guest members have included everything from audience members who started fundraisers for PPE for medical professionals to artists of color sharing thoughts on Black Lives Matter. To learn more about our organization or to join our mailing list, please feel free to visit our website at concertsforcompassion.com.
You can also find us on Facebook and Instagram at Concerts for Compassion. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mariella and Jocelyn. As you can see, passion and deep reflection can really lead the way to finding the focus for your dreams. Hi, Jocelyn and Mariella. I'm happy to bring Jocelyn and Mariella in to talk to you briefly, hello, about some of their main points for people who are starting out their own community engagement projects. I'd like to start with Jocelyn. Hi, Jocelyn.
Hi. So I think one of the greatest things that we learned from our experience with Concerts for Compassion was A, to do everything you can to achieve what you set out to do, and B, to not necessarily take no as a no. For example, Mariella dared greatly, and she called how many embassies in Europe when we were first starting out?
I think 64.
So she cold called all of them, telling them about our project we were graduating from. And you know, when you're starting out and don't have much material to work with, it's really hard for people to trust your validity or your the quality of what you'll be bringing. So you know, in the beginning, we had like 95% no's from everywhere. But you know, the 5% who said yes turned out to be doors to other places. So we actually ended up being able to fund our first 25-country tour by a grant from the Terezio Fund, from a U.S. embassy in Germany, and also through private donors. So yeah, I think what I mean by not taking no as no is that I think it might mean, it might be a pathway for them to either connect you to somebody else or for you to check back with this person later, because they might not just fit in with their timeline currently. But yeah, that's something I feel that we learned during this process of putting together Concerts for Compassion. What do you think, Mariella?
I totally agree. I think you perfectly, phrased the importance of that, to just not take no as an answer and just use it as a different way to find another solution. And one thing that we also realized and that we believe strongly is that organizing whatever you want to do in your head is very, very helpful. So it's very important, what we've learned, to tie whatever you're doing to what you, like who you are, feel strongly about, so you have a very clear purpose. And at the end of the day, if you have a very clear purpose and you know why you're playing music and why you're doing this, eventually your project or whatever you're doing will grow because it's honest and authentic. And that's something we've realized, to always tie it back to what we personally feel strongly about rather than what do people expect, And so we always divide it into purpose, vision, and strategy. The purpose is, why do we do this? So for example, for us, it's we want to use music to bridge cultural and racial gaps. And then our vision is what does that look like? Playing benefit concerts, playing concerts for refugees and listening to concerts from refugees and doing educational workshops. And then the strategy, which Jocelyn is a total master at, which is, okay, this is what we need to get done, and this is how we're going to do it. So we need funding, we need this much, we need musicians, you know, all the details. So we've been lucky in that we complement each other in that way, and finding a team where you complement your talents to bring a purpose, a vision, and a strategy into place is very helpful.
Thank you both for being here tonight. We really appreciate it. You've been an inspiration for so many people.
Thank
Thank you for inviting us.
And so along these lines of how your compassion can pave the way to the content of your project, on my next slide, we're going to talk about a mission. And Mariella and Jocelyn visit our class to talk about mission statements. And believe it or not, we spend about 4 to 5 weeks on mission statements, because the mission statement is truly the foundation on which your project will grow and become free. This is the structure in which you can be free, a little bit like rhythm and phrasing. And a mission is a formal summary of the aims and values of a company, organization, or individual. So this could be for your own individual project. It serves as a roadmap for the vision and really focuses on today. So for example, the company Tesla, their mission is to accelerate the world's transition to sustainable energy. Short, succinct, to the point, about today. TED has the shortest mission statement I've ever seen, which is to spread ideas. And this is really the second step in connecting to your community. After you've found your passion, you've defined your community, we need to start working on your mission. And so on the next slide, I have some examples of mission statements where you start with your big ideas, your idealism, your heart and your passion, and we start to focus that into a mission statement from which you will then launch your actions. So Music for Food has a mission statement which states that it's a musician-led initiative for local hunger relief. Our concerts raise resources and awareness in the fight against hunger, empowering any musician who wishes to use their artistry to further social change. Music for Food, founded by Kim Kashkashian. The Sphinx organization, their vision and mission is we transform lives through the power of diversity in the arts. Also, very succinct, very clear that all of their different branches and chapters of their organization lead back to the roots of this mission statement. And I thought you would all find it interesting to see an example of a mission statement of one of our community engagement groups from Juilliard called the Vision Collective, started by 3 students, Timothy Chewy, violinist, Drake Driscoll, cellist, and Sarah Song, violist. And during the class, one of their homework assignments was to create a website, which I think they have done very beautifully. And if you scroll down, you will see that their mission here is to build meaningful relationships with and among refugees and new Americans by sharing and exchanging music between diverse communities. I believe Mariella and Jocelyn helped hone their mission statement, which started as 3 sentences, into this beautiful focus. And so this is their website, showing pictures of many of their different activities. Thank you, Ludo. So moving forward, I would like to share our vision statements, which Mariella referred to. Now the vision is a little different from your mission. The focus is more on tomorrow. And this is an aspirational description of what your organization or you as an individual would like to achieve or accomplish in the future. It serves as a guide for choosing current and future courses of action. So going back to Tesla, their vision is to create the most compelling car company of the 21st century by driving the world's transition to electric vehicles. Human Rights Campaign has a vision for equality for everyone. And the Nature Conservancy is to leave a sustainable world for future generations. Beautiful visions for the future. Now that you've spent your few weeks on honing your vision, your mission statements, we have some fun times up ahead. And the next segment has very much to do with the content of your project and the communication. And we go into the adventure of venue partnership. And venue partnership is deeply based on building trust. And we build trust in a multi-layered manner, one step at a time, through the consistency of our behaviors. And for me, one of the most important factors to remember in any project of passion is the quality of care. And that includes your musical content, your communication skills, and your behavior in making these connections with these venues, is the quality of care. And moving forward down the line of quality of care, it's important to know your audience when choosing your content and also choosing the venues that you're going to reach out to. You'll be casting a very wide net with your very focused mission statement. As they were talking about in Concerts for Compassion, it could be 70 venues that you reach out to with one answer. So know your audience, and in your own time, I highly recommend that you check out Bruce Adolph's website, on which there is beautiful content relating to communication and knowing your audience. And before you meet with your venues, please do your research. We want to know whether this organization already has a project just like yours. If so, this might not be the organization for you. So please do your research. Kim Kashkashian has visited our class several times, and we've had a beautiful discussion about time management, which is next on my list. And she gave a beautiful description of how she prefers to work on time management, which is to buy a roll of art paper and open it up on the floor. And you start with your end goal. If your end goal is to perform in women's shelters, you write this down and you work your way backwards. And you make realistic schedules for when you would like to accomplish each of your small goals for time management. It's very effective. Now is the time to prepare your content. So when you're reaching out to venues, we have found that they're very interested in promotional videos in this day and age. Musical samples, brochures, flyers on which you can have your mission statement, your vision statement, and some examples of the music you plan to play. And this powerful communication, this connection, will be made in this day and age through letters, emails, phone calls, face-to-face meetings, socially distanced or via Zoom. And I would never underestimate the power of preparation. Preparation for writing letters would be to proofread. Show your draft to one of your teammates, your friends. Sleep on it and be sure you know what you're doing when you send that email. Be sure it's going to the right person and check your spelling. When you're making phone calls, it's very useful to have a few points listed out in an outline. Sometimes making that cold call can be very nerve-wracking, right? So having just 3 to 4 points available can help ease your mind and help you to speak more freely. A tiny tip, we've noticed that there's a little bit of a magic hour for making those cold calls. 11 a.m. seems to be a wonderful time. They're not too hungry because lunch hour is about an hour away. And it's not the hour before they have to leave home and they're in a hurry. So 11 o'clock has been proven to be very successful, as well as 2 p.m. after being well fed after lunch. So choose your time. And as Hejin mentioned, be very patient. Be patient even if you are receiving 0 answers. If you've written an email, follow up after about a week to 10 days. Be respectful of people's time because most people are receiving many, many emails in a day. So be respectful of your follow-up. Choose when you send that email so that you can be at the top of their email list the next morning. This will give you time to refine your content while you're waiting for some answers. And all of this helps us to build trust. Follow through on your actions and your promises. And I assure you, you will hear back. So moving forward to my next slide, I would like to share a group called 1.5 Degrees, which started in our class and evolved into something a bit unexpected and very beautiful.
Hello, I'm Sophia. I am a member of the 1.5 Degrees Trio, and I am the president of the Juilliard Green Club. In 2018, after our first meeting as part of the Chamber Music Community Engagement Seminar, Isabella, Hannah, and I formed a trio, and we started to talk about our many community outreach interests. We all believe that the climate crisis and the need for greater sustainability are issues that affect all people, including our New York City community. And we wanted to find ways to create a positive impact as musicians. 1.5 Degrees was able to partner with 350 NYC, and we got to attend some of their meetings, and they advised us to, first of all, see what we could do within our immediate community. So we turned to Juilliard, and with the help of the administrators and of the seminar, we were able to bring in new, clearly marked recycling bins throughout the school. We gave a couple of presentations on practical, sustainable tips and substitutes. And we held an Earth Day event, and that led us to really want to get more people involved, and we started the Juilliard Green Club.
Hi, my name is Hannah, and I am part of a trio that was formed through a community engagement seminar, a class at Juilliard led by Natasha Brofsky and Catherine Cho. Through the skills we learned in class, we were able to form a green club through which we have been meeting with administrators and have seen many great changes at school, such as a large decrease in plastic consumption. We continue to meet to hope to bring even more change at school.
So of course we've had to do a lot of adapting over the past few months. We've held a virtual Earth Day concert and planting photo challenges. Moving forward, we'd also like to invite environmentally conscious speakers to speak over Zoom and host workshops where we provide tips on how to live more sustainably at home. While all this is going on, we are keeping in contact with Juilliard administrators and staff and trying to see what we can do to help Juilliard also take a step forward when it comes to being more environmentally aware and helpful.
Hi, I'm Nina, and I'm a member of the Green Club at the Juilliard School. The Green Club has been this really great experiment, I think, in bringing people together who maybe before weren't extremely aware of how capable the student body is of making a great change in the school. The things that the Green Club has accomplished, like bringing 40, 50 students together and just planting plants, succulents in cute little pots, has really brought awareness to what the Green Club is all about, and awareness to how we can make small changes in our lives that require little to no effort, that as a community will bring about some great change.
And I'm delighted to have Sophia Steger with us today, also a participant in VIVAC-E, coincidentally. and president of the Juilliard Green Club. Hi, Sophia.
Hello.
Hi. How are you?
Good.
Thanks so much for sharing that beautiful video that you made and for being with us tonight.
Thank you for sharing our project.
So I would love for you to take a moment and perhaps share with the audience maybe one of your top tips for those who might be considering starting their own project or are in the beginning steps.
Yeah, so I think, sorry, I'm using my Blue Yeti here, and I don't hope it sounds okay. Okay. So I think one big thought in getting started is really staying true to your mission while also being very aware of what is needed and who you're partnering with and what their needs are, because sometimes it's not exactly what you thought, but it's just as important. So just knowing what you want to do, but being flexible and open to new ideas at the beginning is really important. Yeah, and then just I think those first phone calls, that was something that I had to get over my own little anxiety about, because yeah, like Jocelyn was saying, when you don't have a lot of experience with your project yet, it's hard to be convincing maybe, but just really emphasizing that you want to know what they are interested in, what they've already been doing, and what would be most fulfilling for them. I think that can't really go wrong. Like that's what they would like and what you love doing, and you can go from there. So yeah, I think those are my tips.
Thank you, Sophia. So you're maintaining your passion and your mission and vision, but at the same time being very flexible.
Mm-hmm.
And listening and knowing your audience and knowing your organization so that you can create something beautiful together.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Lovely. I love the way your project actually evolved into the Green Club at Juilliard. I remember you going to these organizations and they said to you, well, what are you doing at school?
Yeah.
Or you said to me, I don't know. What are we doing at school? Not enough. So we started to do more Juilliard thanks to your group and to the formation of the Green Club. So thank you.
Yeah, and actually, yeah, we were hoping to like maybe do a fundraising concert for 350 NYC or something along those lines. But actually, after that meeting, well, we did get to perform at one of their events, but they came to Juilliard and gave a talk as well, and so that was really nice. And yeah, just not what we had planned originally. We had sort of big goals, but not a specific audience really at the beginning. And our audience became Juilliard. And actually, I think it's been really surprising, not surprising, but really nice to know how many people at Juilliard also wanted to have something like this and wanted to have a community that was focused on environmental awareness and sustainability. Because, yeah, we have a large number of members. We have over 60, I believe. And yeah, it's been very active, and I think it's brought together a community that didn't really used to exist and that I wouldn't have gotten to be a part of otherwise.
Thank you, Sophia.
Thank you.
Practice makes progress. I remember I was practicing with you on that cold call.
Yeah.
Rehearsing. You did beautifully. You're a great leader. Thank you, Sophia, for joining us. And so before we continue on with Maria, I wanted to say that with this passion and this commitment, the engagement continues. It's the continuity that creates the sense of community engagement. And you might be wondering, well, okay, this is all good. All of these pointers on how to get started, how to continue, but how am I going to fund my project? Luckily, we have the wonderful Maria Lambros here with us to talk a little bit about budgets and financial planning. Maria?
Hi, everybody, and it's just such an honor to be here. I'm so moved and so touched by all of these stories and just the work everybody is doing. I want to take your class, Kathy, and I hope if it's online, you'll let me in. And Sophia and Mariella and Jocelyn, your projects are so beautiful and so inspirational, especially to the boomers, our generation, to see what you're doing. It's just beautiful. And Hedgen's project, I think I cry every time I hear that video. So thank you so much. So I guess I will talk a little bit about fundraising, but why don't I just start by showing you my project, which is called Our Joyful Noise Baltimore. It's kind of a longish video, about 6 minutes, and it's a combination of our regular time video. Oh, and now trying in COVID times to do some work and stay connected to our venue. So I made a little combination video for you tonight, which we'll watch right now.
We shall overcome someday.
The mission of Our Joyful Noise is to bring the beauty, the power, and the joy, and all the things that music can bring to people in our Baltimore community who are in challenging situations. Cancer treatment, incarceration, veterans, homelessness, and families with children with autism. I had this amazing experience when I was a patient in a hospital in Boston, and I heard music coming from the hospital lobby, this beautiful professional concert. Hearing music from the other side, not as a musician or a performer, but as a patient, was really a transformative experience for me. So I said to myself, when I get better, I want to start something like this in Baltimore.
Playing music for me is something that I love deeply. Being able to share that in a really honest way in a place where people maybe haven't gotten to experience a lot of love, that has been incredibly inspiring to me.
So they're not temporary moments. These are experiences that people can share and carry with them for the rest of their lives, and who's to know how that's going to touch someone else. So
we love it and we definitely need it. It's a massage to our soul.
I love playing for the Azure concerts. It's so much fun to perform music in a setting where there's just kind of raw energy.
And I think of this piece as peace of mind.
Very comforting. The music is, and the musicians are so emotional with their instruments.
Meeting with people whose experience is so different from mine, but we find common ground in the music.
We have professional musicians from all generations, and we pay them, and we feel that this is important because these are real concerts. They are not concerts that are extra in addition to the real concert. We try to make the experiences as special as possible with programs, receptions, and special celebrations.
I think that's been one of the most inspiring things I've done in my musical career.
that was my first time ever crying during a performance.
It reminds us that the music that we play is powerful and the world needs it.
And it was food for our soul.
Highlights of our second season included launching a lesson program for veterans and the commissioning of 2 new works. Little did we know that on March 12, 2020, we would be the very last visitors to the shelter.
I have issued a state of emergency in Maryland.
We knew we had to find new and creative ways to stay connected with our venues and our city. We are lucky to have a chef partner so that we can bring meals to 2 of our venues. We sent cards to the women in prison and took our autism concerts online.
Keep going, dancers. We see you.
We were inspired by Project Music Heals Us to bring a concert series to COVID patients and medical personnel.
The fact that I am able to play for you right now is very meaningful for me.
We can see people clapping, which is incredible.
Could you just double check if you have the original sound on?
Despite some glitches, there was so much beauty. And we were able to bring live outdoor social distance concerts to a South Baltimore neighborhood and the Baltimore Station Shelter.
These are Grammy award-winning artists, so we're very fortunate to have them with us today. It's no charge to us and our beautiful community. One of these days.
Very excited that the concert truck is coming tonight. We had no clue that such a thing existed.
Everyone at the Baltimore Station! Yay! I am so glad to see you all!
You can support these and other initiatives by going to our website at ourjoyfulnoisebaltimore.org/give. We can't keep the music going without you. Thank you so much for your support.
Change the world.
All right, so as you can see, that's a project that's trying to be a real concert series, but in maybe some venues for people that have not had access to a concert series like we have at Shriver Hall in Baltimore at Peabody. And so we raise money to pay our musicians. And I think the few things I can say, because I'm really not an expert in this at all. First is talk to Ara Gregorian, because he's the best fundraiser I know. And, you know, just the idea that the personal connections with your funders are so important, and keeping in touch with them and letting them know what you're up to. And nobody can come to our concerts, but actually during times of COVID with online concerts, a lot of donors have been able to see what our work, which is really, really great. Tap into the passions of your donors. You know, there's so many places that in a big city like Baltimore, foundations that you can choose from. And I try to tap into people's interest first in music, really, and then in cancer, incarceration, veterans and homelessness, and people with disabilities, people with autism. And I've been told by grantors that it's really important to have a diverse set of funding streams. So I started off with just really individual donors and foundations, and now I'm working to get government grants, which we just got from the Maryland State Arts Council, and also corporate grants. Corporations have a lot of money that they want to give to their communities. It's very important to them. Most every company has a philanthropic foundation. So that's a real stream that we're starting to explore, and hopefully we'll have some good success with. I'll have to think about that 11 o'clock cold call. I just want to say a few more things about the project. We did those outdoor concerts, and the shelter is working really well because that's a contained community, and so they get tested a lot, and the people who run the shelter are there with me and making sure of the social distancing and the seating and protecting the musicians. It's working out well. The second venue is a apartment complex in Baltimore, and you know, it was great and they loved it. They loved the music and it worked out fine with the social distancing. But now that the cases have spiked, I'm just not feeling comfortable creating a gathering like that because there's not control over who comes. So we had to put those on hold for a while. And so I'll just end by saying this project has just taught me so much about humility, just seeing how much music means to people when they don't normally have access, like seeing what happens in a prison, seeing what happens when cancer patients or veterans hear this music. It's just been so incredibly moving. And also watching the musicians and just seeing what it means to them to play and the connections that they make. And so as a person who likes to have a lot of control, I've actually learned really a lot about stepping back and just trusting the process. These are sacred spaces that we're going into. So you have to, you know, just trust that the music you're bringing is beautiful and meaningful, and you don't have to really worry about the music. You can really trust the music. It knows what it's doing. And you can trust your venue partners that especially that you've worked with over time. You develop this trust with them. You know, when you first go in, they like Hedgen said, they're busy with on the ground survival and saving lives and feeding people. And they're not, you know, they're not really set up to have a grand piano moved in, which I tried to actually arrange that, but it didn't work. We got our own clavinova. But, you know, I realized, you know, these are sacred spaces and they're not used to having concerts. So you have to build a lot of trust with your venue partners. And once you do, they're just so welcoming and it's just so wonderful. And even at the prison, we're finally, you know, building some trust, although it's a very difficult place to go and to get in. And then just trust your musicians. Musicians just know what they're doing. You know, I had the Omer Quartet came to prison, our very first concert, and they wanted to play the Beethoven Grosse Fuga. And I was really scared. I thought, oh my gosh, people are not going to like this music. It's too hard. I mean, I don't really get that piece. And, you know, they played this Haydn, great, you know, a little chatting in the back is normal in a prison. Then they played a Debussy quartet, you know, great, little chatting in the back. And then they played the Grosse Fuga, and it was silent. It was, and some person came up to us afterwards and she said, I was crying so hard I had to leave. I felt my life was flashing before my very eyes. The beauty, the sadness, the trauma. I mean, you know, and there I was like, okay, there you go. Trust the music. The music knows what it's doing. The musicians know what it's doing, what they are doing. So really, the project has taught me so much trust and so much humility. So maybe we'll all get on now, all of I did the opposite. I muted myself. And as both Hedgen and Kathy talked about inspiration, we'll also post a list of some of our hero organizations. I just want to say that group that inspired me in Boston is called the Volunteer Musicians for the Arts.
Oh, it's so inspiring to hear about all of this. Yeah, some venues and organizations I know, and some I don't. They're amazing.
Do we have any questions from the audience? for any of us, but also any of the alumni and students who were on the panel today.
I loved that. I love to find out, to hear about that magic hour, Kathy. Because we always have these moments like, when is a good day to email them again? Or when is the best hour that they are, I'm always thinking about that. And I never figure out exactly the window of time, but it's probably, it probably doesn't work all the time, but still that's a great way to think about it.
We've had a high success rate after many failures. And so for all the failures, we start to take note and remember we've spent hours and hours, as the groups know, on this topic. When do we make the call? When do we make the follow-up? When do we visit in person? A lot of the time, the face-to-face visit is very important. This is how we started a branch of Music for Food down in my neighborhood. Was my subway stop was under repair, so I had to go to another subway stop. And because of that, I saw this beautiful church where we started giving Music for Food concerts. And out of that inconvenient situation was born something new. Yeah. So Ludo?
Yeah, I think we're all touched by all of you and your project, and I got a little bit emotional, I have to say. There are a lot of really beautiful comments, but all the attendees that are here with us, if they have any comments that they would like to share, also turning on their cameras, we can promote you as a panelist for a few minutes and share your comments. Yeah, I see Steven here and Karen. You can all read very beautiful comments about your project. So thank you so much, all three of you. I think this is a beautiful example of what every one of us can think about and can start creating, just to be helpful and use their best of their self just to make something beautiful. So thank you so much. I'm really touched by your work.
Thanks, Ludo. There is one question here in the Q&A that I would love to ask, actually, the ladies, is how do you all continue to keep your motivation and passion going for these projects? Great question.
I guess I'll jump in and just say, just witnessing how much the music means to people, just what we do as musicians, just how incredibly meaningful and important it is outside of the concert hall as well. Concert hall concerts are great. I mean, nobody loves a great string quartet concert more than I do. But just seeing, just seeing that, what you get a chance to really feel, because people are just so open. And during the shelter concerts, the men are always just speaking right after each piece, or seeing a world premiere. I mean, seeing people respond to world premieres and just loving music, just that keeps me going. It's a lot of work, and I definitely need to get more help because sometimes it's just a lot, especially trying to keep a lot of things going with COVID. But because it's so, all the unknown is hard. But it's really the music and the people and the connection and the beauty of connection through music that inspires me to do it every day.
Yeah, that is so true. I also think about how fortunate we are as musicians that we get to know this music, amazing things that we get to play every day and we get to hear. But there are so many out there that are just not in the circumstance that could enjoy this kind of things on the same level as us, and just just the desire to share. I think for everyone to know beautiful music and to really be surrounded by the beauty of it, I think that really keeps me going and want to do more and more.
Yeah.
We also have the question of whether you knew you wanted to do this kind of work when you were in school, which is a fascinating question because I think that there are different times in your life when you know that this is important to you. And I think it can happen at many different stages. Clearly, we're talking about a community engagement class for BMs and MMs at Juilliard, and we get so many applications of people who are interested in doing this work. And my son, who, when he was 12, wanted to start a music for food branch at his middle school, it can really happen at different points. But I would love to know your answer to that, Hedjen. Did you know that you wanted to do this kind of work when you were in school, or did this inspiration come to you later?
It really came to me with having my own child. That really was the life event that made me even think about the possibility of using music in a different way. I've been part of many outreach like concerts and stuff, but I guess my motivation was not something that I connected so closely. You know, like through school programs at NEC and Curtis, it was an opportunity for me to run through my pieces or my programs, and I would go to nursing homes and yeah, and those facilities. But I definitely did not have the same kind of passion or motivation. And but I'm so glad that I have something that I can latch onto and that I'm passionate about. How about you, Maria? Did you know?
Well, I grew up in a small, not a small town, but a medium town, sized town in Montana, Missoula, Montana. And I was always sort of playing for my dad's Rotary Club or for my church or for my aunt's assisted living. It was kind of part of the culture that I grew up with. And I have, I do a lot of weird stuff. Like I have a Les Miserables for solo viola and cassette recorded orchestra. So I've always played with cassette recording music -1, mainly just because my parents were always asked, my family members always me, could you play for this? Could you play for that? So did have quite a bit of experience playing in those kind of settings, but it was definitely being in a hospital and hearing the Bach double violin concerto as a patient that really fueled it big time.
That's very inspiring. Clearly, there are many sources for that ignition. Well, it's 9:30.
What about you, Kathy? What about
it's
you?
9:30. I'm worried. Oh, well, for me, I mean, I'll quickly say that it started very early on. I lived in an area in Michigan where playing for and in schools was just regular weekly activity, and something I cared about deeply, something I care about deeply with my studio. My studio is involved in many different community engagement projects as a studio. And sometimes I wonder if it has to do with exposure. If you're living with it, does it inspire you to continue branching out? But definitely was a part of my life from early childhood.
I would like to comment or maybe ask a question. Maria, in your video, what kind of inspired me is that these aren't watered down concerts that you're presenting. These are real concerts, world-class musicians, just in different venues. And I guess it's more of a comment, but if you could just talk a little bit about that mission as to that this is no different than a concert you would present in a major hall. Is that right?
Yeah, that's the goal. It is the goal. We don't have an intermission, so we keep them to, between 45, 50, but they can go on for, I just like right now, I just trust the musicians. I sort of give them but we really want it to be a real professional concert. So we have programs and, like I said, receptions and special events, and try to make the audience experience just really special for them. And I think I remember when I first, you saw at the end of the video, that poster, when I first printed out that poster and it came on a printer, and I showed it to Michael and I said, this is what I've been dreaming of, a real series, so that they can look forward to a concert in September, then November, then January, then March, that, you know, so that it's a real series and you get to know the audiences that way and they look forward to the concerts.
That's amazing. All the way down to musicians being paid as if they're playing a real.
Oh yeah, that's important. Yeah, that's part of the mission, so that the musicians, if they come to Baltimore and they play in the 4 venues, we try to group them into the 4 concerts, that they will make a decent fee that they can, you know, that's part of their concert life and schedule.
That's really outstanding, and it's been so great for me to sit here. As I mentioned at the beginning, just knowing you guys personally like I do, and how inspiring knowing you has been. It's so nice to be able to share this to our VIVAC-E community. I want to thank the Violin channel for streaming this live as well, and everyone who wants to be inspired again tomorrow can watch this on our on-demand channel. Tomorrow night we have more great things at VIVAC-E, including the Left Hand by Danny Phillips, and more community engagement as we look at Ara Gregorian, who I think all 3 of you mentioned at some point tonight in your talk, and what it means to start a festival, how to do it, and its impact on the community. So thank you everyone for joining us tonight. It's been a very special evening for me, and to Kathy, Hedgen, and Maria, I'll see you at the faculty happy hour very soon.
And we just want to remind you to play that final little video of Hedgen in the hospital. That's how we'll end tonight.
Thank you, ladies. Bye.
Good night.
Thank you.